everybody to another session of Wisdom Talks and Meditations. My name is Jagannath, and I have a good friend of mine, Balaram Perez, who is joining today. And we're going to be talking about Guru and Gurukul. We're going to be talking about his life. And you can see him coming on Facebook already. And I just want to make sure I get him on Insta as well. Just waiting for Balaram to come on. So as soon as Balaram's on Instagram, we will be starting the conversation. While I just wait for Balaram to come on, I'm just checking. Is he there? On Instagram, Balaram. I'm trying to wait for you on Insta. Are you there?
I'm waiting for the call.
Just join on Insta. Are you on Instagram? Let's just have a look. I'm just checking if he's joined. Just trying to find him.
I haven't got the invite yet.
Just checking. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining today. Just see if he's just come on. Just bear with me. So, how is everybody? I hope everyone is good. 10 of you have joined on Insta. We have 103 on other channels. And I am just going to try and get Balaram on right now. Okay. My lovely system has just gone crashed. Way! This is how it happens. Please join me again on Insta. I'm just going to start again. Just bear with me. Let's start again. Right. This is what happens on technology, everyone. When we are live, we're trying to do new. Try again. So if you try. So we just tried going live again on the top one.
Not getting an invite.
Just checking. So while we're waiting, I've just gone live again just to check if Balaram can see me. As soon as he does. So Balaram Perez, for those that don't know, he graduated at Bhaktivedanta Academy in Mayapur. He is, being raised as a Bhakti yogi. He was drawn to the local spiritual community in London, where he served and was teaching self-improvement. And I can see him right now. Let's get him on. Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for joining back. So we're just waiting for Balaram to come back on. There he is. Okay.
Wonderful. Right.
Balaram, is your laptop sound down? Just to check.
Yeah, I've just disconnected that.
So I was just explaining to everyone that you just joined, that you graduated. Is you're a graduate of the Bhaktivedanta Academy in Mayapur, which is amazing. You've been raised as a Bhakti yogi, and you've been drawn to the local spiritual community in London, which I know that's where we made a good connection. And you also you served there, didn't you? And you were doing teachings on self-improvement through like various means, like corporate events. I know you did university programs. And also you did some amazing empowering retreats, not just here, but abroad, if I'm right. So that's phenomenal. And right now, you're currently pursuing a more creative role in the fells of the Lake District. What a conscious shift from, from urban to complete rural. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
But this is that you're trying to raise some awareness on, about self-improvement through technology, ecology, and spirituality, and how we can use those platforms to try and improve ourselves. So I think it's an amazing thing what you're doing, and
thank you.
I'm really happy you're on. And everybody, I just want to say, Balaram is somebody that's been in the movement since birth of the Krishna conscious movement. So it's an honor to have him on today. And actually, Balaram, I wanted to start with you. How is Lake District? What's the weather like over there?
Well, it's a bit rainy right now. The mountains tend to attract a lot of the clouds.
Okay.
But we had some really good spells of good weather. But I just wanted to echo back, some of the things that you said. I feel really honored to be here with you. You're my big brother. We've done so much service together over the years. And it's amazing, the platform that you've put on here, all the different guests and conversations that you're doing. I feel like it's really important for everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Balaram. It's great. And one thing that I wanted to start with, and also this is an interactive conversation. So anybody has a question, please do ask. Pavitra Connect just joined. I just seen them join. Thank you for joining. Kevin, thank you for your comment. And I can see a lot also on our different platforms of Instagram and YouTube. Altogether, we have about 150, 160 of you on. So thank you very much for everybody for joining today. So Balaram, I want to just start. I mentioned about Guru and Gurukul. Now, before we go on, I'd like to start with Gurukul. And what does Gurukul mean? Just in case there's people on this, today, our talk, that don't know what it means. What does Gurukul mean? If you don't mind explaining that.
Yeah, so literally the meaning of Gurukul is Guru. It means a spiritual teacher. And Kula means the house. So the idea is it's sort of a boarding school where you come on, and it's traditionally you don't pay for those teachings.
Right.
So you'll come in for whatever it is, a decade, 15 years, and you'll just do service for the guru, and the guru will teach you in return. So it's a very beautiful relationship that's developed there. That's almost free from money. Of course, the Gurukul that I went to was a paid school, but it didn't even cover all the things that they gave us. Anyway, that's just a little bit of the meaning.
No, thank you. And you yourself, your early days, did they start, Balaram, yourself? Did they start in Mayapur? So just outside, about 2.5 hours away from Kolkata. Did it start in Mayapur? Did your spiritual life and your schooling life start in Mayapur Dham, or was it somewhere else? What was your upbringing?
Well, my mother's from Spain, and she traveled with her spiritual teacher to Bolivia.
Oh, wow.
Just before I was born, yeah. They went to open a temple there, a little center for sharing spirituality, and I was born in Bolivia.
Wow.
And then my mother's been always following her teacher's instructions. So later on, we moved to America. There's a nice community called New Taliban in Mississippi, where I lived for a couple of years. And some of the kids had just graduated from Mayapur Gurukul, including the Mayapuris. Oh. And they came back and they started sharing how to play the mridanga, how to chant different mantras. My teacher was Jaggi. Jaggi.
Oh, yes.
Another Jagannath.
Jaggi Sutta, is that correct?
No.
Jagannatha Kirtan?
Yeah, I think it's Jagannatha.
Yeah, Jagannatha Kirtan, because, I remember...
he was part of the Mayapuris, and he was my first mridanga teacher, and they would tell us all these Gurukul stories. So from there, I was very inspired to try and convince my mom to move to Mayapur. And that's how I joined the Gurukul. I was about 9 years old.
9 years old. Wow. And because I've seen the Gurukul in Mayapur.
Yeah.
And for those that haven't seen it, I'll tell you how I would explain it. Think about Enter the Dragon movie, where you've got Bruce Lee, and where he comes onto that island, and it's just absolutely beautiful and natural. It's just for me, that's how I saw it. It's such a very secluded area, it's very natural, an amazing place to be. So is that how you saw it when you were 9 years old? And what were the things like when you were staying there? What was the conditions like? What did you have to do? Because it's not just education. You're learning education, not just spiritually, but also materially and also practically how to live as a spiritualist, isn't it? Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I really like this question that John Lennon answered when he was in school. They asked him, what do you want to do in life? What career options do you want to take? And he answered, I want to be happy. Instead of, we have so many to-do lists, but we don't really have a to-be list. I think that was the whole point of the Gurukul training. It wasn't training so much, we didn't have the facility to specialize in medicine or so many different things. It was just more of a monk training centered around building character and developing a service attitude amongst learning everything else. So yeah, it's very, there was definitely some character development going on. Like one of my fondest memories, which was also a bit hard, was the rule that if we didn't cook, there would be nothing to eat. And it's the Gurukul training sort of wanted to dispel this illusion that your parents are always going to be around doing everything for you. So the Gurukul training, first and foremost, was to tell you, you got to clean your bed, you got to wash your clothes, you got to cook your own food, because no one else is going to do that for you. So it just really helps you to grow into a man or a woman,
One thing I remember when I went, because we've been to the Gurukul a few times, and just recently when we went, we were guided around by, I think he was 7-8-year-old boy. And he was 8 years old, but his persona, his way, the way he carried himself was like he was like a 17-18-year-old. It was just shocking to see. And everybody that I took, because I took a group with me when we came up, it was just so amazing to see that they're so grown up, they're so independent. And then all I saw was, you see like this foresty area, and then you see a little boy, and he was about 6 years old. And then there was like these buffaloes, and he's running behind the buffaloes, getting them to move, forward. And he's got bare feet. It was just so surreal.
Fearless, huh?
Very fearless. I was very amazed. You don't get that type of education now, do you?
No, having grown up in America before Gurukul, we definitely watch a lot of different movies. But I remember one of our friends in school in the Gurukul, he was never scared of anything. Like he said, just chasing the buffaloes or going in at night in the forest, etc., etc. And we're trying to figure out, why is this kid fearless? And we sort of figured out that it was because he's never watched any film in his life. He had no reason to be scared, because all these things that we look at, they implant what we call samskars in Sanskrit. They create impressions in your mind that create fear or lust or anger, so many different things. So yeah, that was a real good fortune for this little boy.
I think that brings us on to something there, because what you just said, these implants of samskaras. So in a way, some people would turn around and say, actually, you're getting shielded from the outside world, right? That would be one way of seeing it. Okay, you didn't watch movies, but here you just said it in a way where it's been such a positive that it actually made him fearless to do the things, because he's not been watching these type of programs where he sees people maybe getting killed or certain things happening if they did this, and see the reactions. He's actually learning, and he's using his intelligence and some independence of thinking himself and learning from his experiences. So it's quite a nice little thing what you just said there.
It's sort of a bit of training around being in this world but not of this world. And I think especially now, I know for myself, with all these gadgets that we have, we become very much addicted, waking up in the morning, checking the phone first thing. And what to speak of phones, there's so many other things that take control of our lives, and we just become slaves to that. So yeah, if you want real freedom, get rid of your iPhone.
If I do that, then I can't be on Instagram. But it's true. You're right. It's no, but I'm getting a lot of comments coming in. Kevin has said, such beautiful deities behind you both. Yeah, I know. Look, I know we'll maybe ask Balaram to explain who's behind him, and just and of course you can see behind me as well. No, so I've had a lot of comments on that. So Balaram, before we go on, and also I just want to say thank you to Kirtanananda. They've joined us. We've had so many people. We've had Sachi Sutta Das joining us. We've got Dr. Sharub. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining. So many nice people. Arun Kumar, Lucy Andrews. The list goes on. There's so many of you that joined today, and I'm really, really... and Chaitanya Chintamani is on as well, the amazing singer, the kirtan. So just who is behind you? Can you just give a little... let us know a little bit more. I know it's Krishna, but is there specifics to that deity behind?
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know about Krishna, some say he was a historical person that lived on this planet 5,000 years ago. But for us, we really believe in connecting with the divine, whatever you want to call it. Everyone has sort of this feeling of a higher power, that we're not in control of life, but that life is sort of a gift to us. And so many things happen for us in that way. So there's different ways to connect to that divinity. And Krishna means the all-attractive one. Here he's in the form of a cowherd boy playing the flute. There was this spiritualist who was doing a PhD in Oxford University, and he was studying all the different gods. And in his thesis, he was trying to come to the conclusion, who's God? And so he realized that out of all the different gods and all the different traditions, and especially in Hinduism, he found that Krishna was God because he was the only one that didn't do anything. If you think about a company, there's the CEO, there's so many different managers, but Krishna, he's just on the outside, checking in, making sure everyone's okay, and letting everyone else do the work.
Fantastic. No, it's so true. It's lovely. It's beautiful. Murti or deity behind, as we would say. It's just so nice. And actually, I remember when you were doing a kirtan, I was just so mesmerized by the deity behind. And then suddenly you did a kirtan, which hopefully later on you'll do a little mantra meditation. I really felt like such a divine place to be. So, and I behind me have the divine couple, we call him, who is Radha and Krishna. So this way, the Hare Krishna mantra that you all heard, we have Hare and Krishna. Hare is actually the female divine. Krishna is the male divine. And Rama is the reservoir of pleasure that makes the things happen. So that's why I have them. They're actually my guiding light. I'll let you in to the secret. When we connect with the divine, like what Balaram just said, it's like being connected to the power source. We're like Duracell batteries. Well, some are not. Some are Panasonic batteries, but we are Duracell batteries. And when we connect to the power source, then it becomes something amazing. And we were talking about recently, Balaram, to an amazing disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He was saying how Prabhupada was magic. And the reason was because he was empowered. And that's really nice. But let's now come on to some things. I just want to also say, Namaras, really nice to have you on. Thank you so much. And our lovely friend, Flying Rasa. If anybody hasn't seen, check his YouTube out. He's got some amazing videos going on there. So we've got nice friends there today. I'm not saying everyone's good friends. Everyone's good. So thank you for coming. So let's now, Gurukul, we just talked about your early years. Can you, in that time, what did you learn from going to Gurukul that you couldn't learn if you were... I know we talked about the external parts, watching the movies, etc., is reduced, which is good. But what else is it that you couldn't learn if you just went to a normal school? What was so special about the Gurukul for you?
I think what was really special about the Gurukul was the atmosphere that was created for us. Oftentimes in meditation or in yoga, we talk about creating a sacred space. And so the sacred space that was created for us was really matching the ecology of nature. So everywhere we went around, there was loads of plants. A lot of the gardens were actually stylized with a Japanese Zen vibe, where you just feel very peaceful walking into that, especially during the teenage years where your mind is all over the place. It's so nice to just find a little bit of peace. And and we really tried to be as self-sufficient as possible. So we used to grow our own food. We had our own cows. Later on, towards the end of my Gurukul time, we also got a horse. And we lived in bamboo huts, no electricity where we slept. Of course, we did have a building with electricity, with all the computers, etc. But most of our time was spent in these bamboo huts with lights around. We used to use mustard oil instead of ghee. It's a bit cheaper. Mustard oil lamps. And yeah, it was just a very simple life. I think looking back, I really miss it. And, you know, I wish I could apply some of that to the UK. Of course, it's a little bit harder here where I'm living because it's very cold. So you need some sort of a heating system. But in India, it's very possible to do this because even in the winter time can go up to 25 degrees, right? So you don't need to worry about so many different things. You can just definitely have a little bit more of a peaceful, stress-free attitude towards life.
That's true. It's so what about the cooking side of things? So because you guys are all staying there, because I remember when I went, I saw this one place where you used to store your grains, etc. And this wasn't like they went and got Tilda basmati from the shops and brought it in. You even that you would make fresh. You would cut, you would get it. How did you do all that as well?
Well, the Gurukul had a lot of different workers helping us. So, you know, we'd help out with the harvesting and things like that. But actually, the local Bengali workers did most of the harvesting. But interestingly, our teacher Madhava Gauranga, he was doing a bit of research because there's a verse in the Bhagavatam that says, in the golden age of Satya, people would just take what they needed, and naturally Mother Earth would give everything back. So he was doing a little bit of research, and he found this Japanese rice planter who he would just take 1/3 of the rice, and then the rest of the rice would just naturally fall into the ground and then grow on its own. And so it's just a better way of doing things. You know, we don't need to eat so much. We only need a little bit. We just take what we need, cook that. The rest, you know, goes back into the earth and grows on its own. And, you know, we see in the world right now, so much food is wasted whilst so many people are starving at the same time. So hopefully, you know, some of these teachings that we learned can be picked up by the rest of the world as well. And yeah, when you grow your own food, it definitely tastes a lot better. So you can really feel the difference.
I've got a question come from Subtle Footprints. He says, is Gurukul only for the guys?
So originally in the Vedic times, it was said that the male boys, they really needed the Gurukul training because of the ego that comes along with it. So one of the key things of the Gurukul training was to teach self-control and sensitivity, which are two things that girls seem to have naturally. So in the Vedic times, girls wouldn't go to Gurukul. They just were homeschooled, I guess, by their parents or the local community. And then the Gurukul training was really for the guys to kind of go into the army. They would go into boarding school and not see their parents for like 15 or 20 years. Wow. But in Mayapur, they did try to replicate a version of that for the girls. And I think in some ways it was successful, and in other ways it wasn't. So it eventually did close down. But, you know, they tried their best to facilitate that for everyone. You know, everyone should get an equal opportunity.
So now Gurukul, we talked about Gurukul, but there was another, because you were staying in Mayapur, there was someone else, I think, and I'd like to hear more about Guru now, because somebody very special to you, isn't there? When it comes to Guru, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who's also very special to myself. And I there's a picture that I put out when you were small, and you're looking up, and you're wearing the cloth around, and you're looking up to Guru. Just can you take us through what it was like growing up with His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, being, you know, in the same vicinity as you, and how he impacted your life?
Just want to pay obeisances to him so I can say some appropriate words. But yes, I think first of all, the term guru is someone that, you know, the word guru means heavy, someone who's heavy, who's a bit cutting. The Gita talks about how we need to cut material suffering with a sword of knowledge. So the guru is very much able to do that. But my experience with His Holiness Jayapataka Swami was definitely that he was such a loving guru. He was less on the heavy side, at least for myself. And he's always been a part of my life. He chanted some protective prayers whilst I was in the womb of my mother. So he's known me longer than I've known him. And we've seen him in South America, we've seen him in America, we've seen him in Spain, in London, and of course in Mayapur, which was the project that his spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, asked him to take care of Mayapur Dham and to develop these facilities, including the Gurukul that I went to. It was, you know, very much approved by him, and the Swami that was in the Gurukul also took sannyas from Jayapataka Swami. So everything that I've done in my life has always been very much connected to him. And the picture that you're talking about, there's a little procession that goes around Mayapur called the Hathi procession. Hathi means the elephant. And just like we have this Krishna deity behind, and you have your Krishna deities, so they take the Krishna out of the temple onto the elephant. And the idea is that everyone comes to see Krishna in the temple throughout the year. But from the months of December to March, Krishna comes out to see everyone. And it's sort of a loving exchange. A lot of people will cook different things and will offer different articles. And so Jayapataka Swami, and he's got his office where he takes care of the congregational development of ISKCON. So the whole office would put together an entire feast for everyone, and Jayapataka Swami would be there offering different articles. And, you know, as one of the Gurukul boys, I'd always try to assist him. So I guess my mom, you know, captured a little moment from that.
It must be. So can you remember some memories? I'm sure you've got loads, but is there some really prominent memories of when you were young, and that imprint that Jayapataka Swami Maharaj had on you, that you just treasure till this day right now?
Yeah, I wanted to share a little something about when it comes to choosing a guru. It's important because there's so many different spiritual teachers in the world, and it's really important to be able to connect with them. They're all pure and they're all great in so many different ways. And I actually, even though I knew Jayapataka Swami the longest, I did serve many different gurus to try and figure out who would be the one that I wanted to dedicate my life to. And I found that I needed someone that was a little bit extroverted, I think, because a lot of different gurus that I served, they were the type of gurus that you could really tell, you know, once you get to know them, you could tell that they would rather be in a cave doing their bhajan, you know, but they're really going out of their way to share Christian consciousness. Whereas His Holiness Jayapataka Swami, it was clear as water. You could see that he really wanted to be with every single person. He was meeting thousands and maybe even millions of people, always remembering their name, always asking them, how are you? And this loving connection, I think, was really important to me. Maybe because, maybe I didn't grow up with my father, so maybe I needed a little bit more love from the guru. And so I definitely feel like, even though he was so busy, I've never felt neglected in any way by him. I've always been able to serve him. We've done so much service together. And so I feel that, they say that a Swami, someone who's renounced the world, should be an open book. They should have nothing hidden. And literally, you can be with Jayapataka Swami through everything. Even when he's having a shower, he's got a group of people around him and they're discussing philosophy, or they're talking about building the Vedic planetarium at 1 a.m. Remember with Ekanath just this last year. So I really was blown away by his capacity to engage and serve so many different people. And that's been a massive inspiration for me.
Wow. He's one thing I remember, like you mentioned, Bolivia. I remember going to Bolivia with him. We went to Cochabamba, so we did like a world tour.
Wow.
And
that's the town where I was born.
Is it Cochabamba?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place in the, so high up. In you can see the mountains from there. It's just beautiful. But I remember going to every place, and he would know who everybody was. And this is after he had his stroke. He still would know everybody. And this is what I found amazing about Guru, that they are the most compassionate people on this. They care for your welfare, your spiritual and material welfare. They care for you from their heart, which you can only a guru could do. A sincere guru can do. I find that really, really amazing. So wow, Cochabamba. So, and I've just seen a message come from Chaya Patel. She said, I remember seeing Balaram as a young Gurukul boy in Mayapur. So sweet as Vamandev. Such a nice compliment there. So, Balaram, you mentioned about when you chose your guru, you wanted someone a bit more extrovert instead of introvert. Now, say we got people on this line right now searching for guru, or they're looking for somebody to guide them. What advice would you give to them in terms of for them to help them to find their guru?
I think a really important thing you can do while searching for a guru, as cliche as it may sound, is to work on yourself. The more you understand yourself, the more you'll understand what kind of friends you need in your life and what kind of mentors and spiritual teachers you need. Because there is a tendency to be overjoyed by this honeymoon phase, Yes. Oh, he smiled at me.
The sentimentality aspect.
Yeah, or he gave such a poetic class. He's my guru. But I think it's very important to understand yourself. So, things like personality types and just getting to know yourself a little bit better. I realized early on that although I like to be by myself, I'm an extrovert and I really recharge when I'm with people and I'm engaging. And maybe that's the reason why we're doing this today as well. So it was important for me to connect with someone that's on the same page. And I would go as far as saying that you need a couple of gurus in your life. One is your spiritual guide who you make your spiritual vows to. In the case of both of us, it's His Holiness Jayapataka Swami. But then I'm sure we're both fortunate to have so many different mentors in our life. Like, for example, the mentor that I seek daily advice on is Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu, who we both know very dearly. And then the person that I like to listen to in terms of Bhagavatam every day is Raghunath. From
Wisdom of the Sages, who's come on
Yeah.
And Buddha Bhavana Prabhu will be coming on at some point soon as well. So
Yeah. So these are two people, for example, that I really connect with, because there's no shyness, there's no barrier. They're not. Yeah, you just see, what they are. You see it on the plate, and that's sort of the people that I really connect with. So yeah, so that
no,
I would say that's the first step
so
to
understand our nature, and
Yeah.
and then of course go deeper within ourselves to understand who we are, and then look out there, because everybody has their own nature. And actually, I'll tell you one story. This is when I came into the spiritual movement of Krishna consciousness. They had a massive festival going on in Birmingham, and of course they had this chariot and a massive gazebo looked like on top. So it's a festival of chariots, and it really struck me. Really struck me, and I remember seeing this person, proper, should we say, extrovert, really tall, and he had like a turban on. And I remember once saying to him, "Kidam Maharaj," because I like to joke and I like to kidam in hey, because it looked like a Punjabi turban.
Yeah.
And you know what he did? He just went like this, like like you do the dancing.
A little dance.
Yes, and that point, I just realized this is someone, for me, I was like, yes, because this person understands my nature, understands that I've got that jokiness, but at the same time knows, there's a fine line. It's important that the guru is always, we have that revered respect, but at the same time, he was able to connect with me. And I was like, that's it. This is the man. This is the person,
I think you really want someone that's on the same page as you, like the amazing example that you just gave. Some people may be a little bit too elevated for us, we may not be able to connect with them because of that. Or some people, you can't read them, and you need that transparency. You need to know that you're on the same page. So I love that story that you told.
And just as a caveat, this is just me and Balaram, because we're a bit more extrovert in our ways. So that's why. But hey, if you're introvert, there's a certain, understand your nature. Remember, we did a session on DISC approach, understanding our nature. DISC is one way of understanding very high, very basic aspect of our nature. But then there's so much more in spirituality that you can do to see what type of nature you have. And then what will the nature usually attract that type of nature as well. So just something for everybody on today, have a check and on that. So Balaram, you're in Mayapur for how long were you in Mayapur? When did you leave? Because of course you came to London, but when did you actually leave Mayapur itself?
So I left Mayapur in 2011.
Wow.
Actually, the plan was to stay there for the rest of my life. And I always thought I would become a teacher in the Gurukul, etc. But my mother actually got into an accident, and Krishna always arranges different things. So he put me in a position where I had to do some service, and we spent about 2 years in Spain before sort of figuring out, okay, what are the next steps in life? Maybe I should go to university. Maybe I should start working. So that's where I got invited by some friends to come to London.
Wow. And then, of course, so from 2011 to present day, you've been in London. Now you're in Lake District. And how's that transition been for you? Because there was a question that was asked before regarding Mayapur Dham itself. And it was like, what was it hard to adapt to life after Gurukul, especially when you weren't in Mayapur or any other holy places, in England? Was that difficult for you to do?
I think having grown up in America prior to Gurukul, I sort of knew the world and what to expect coming out. And it's not that in Gurukul we didn't hear any news or discuss any things that are going on in the world. We were very much aware and even studied politicians and figured out, okay, what's going wrong in the world and how can we help that situation. So coming out of Gurukul, it was definitely a little bit of a shock because you're thrown into working life. You can't just wake up and have a nice spiritual practice and go pick up some fruits from the garden, but you're thrown into the city life where, you know, there's pollution, the water doesn't taste as good. You don't have the Ganga to go for a swim at 12 o'clock. You know, if you look at the Thames, it's not very appealing to go for a swim. So it's definitely a little bit of a shock in that sense, and it took some getting used to. And I think part of me moving to the north, here by the mountainside, was to sort of reconnect a little bit more with what I grew up in Mayapur, which was a lot more nature, whilst at the same time having the facility of being able to work with the UK economy, etc. Because it is difficult to earn a living in Mayapur.
And just bringing on to that, because right now I've been watching, you know, I've been seeing your Instagram, I've been seeing some of your YouTube videos. I loved your intro recently that you did for the Balaram Perez space. And on it was very interesting. And anybody, if you want to check it out, just check his YouTube channel, his Facebook or Instagram. It's all just Balaram Perez, which is BALARAMPEREZ. Check him out there. And I want to bring, it really does make sense now, because I was thinking, you know, you're in London, because I remember seeing you in London. Then you come to Lake District, and now when you just said it's like taking you back to your roots when you were in Mayapur, but it's a way of also hopefully making a living, because it was difficult to do that there. It all makes sense. I can understand why you want to be near nature, why you want to have that secluded area. And good that you've got good internet where you are, because as soon as we were going to have this, the first thing I thought about, I hope his internet's good.
Yeah, in India, there's definitely a tendency for the electricity to cut out for days. And well, of course, in Gurukul, we didn't have electricity, so that wasn't a problem. But yeah, just in a really great situation right now. We have a little bit of the best of the both worlds. But I wanted to share that, you know, being in London for the past 6 years, and I'm sure you experienced that as well, because you're in Birmingham in the city, and perhaps traveling to London quite often as well, isn't it, with your work? So I really found it a little bit overwhelming. Just people work to work.
Yeah.
And they make money to make money. And I was surrounded by a lot of people who had all this money and they never even used it. And they were working and we never got an opportunity to meet. And you're working so hard, you know, for us others that, you know, weren't born in rich families. You're working really hard to pay for food. And it kind of doesn't make sense, because you can just grow your own food for free, you know, maybe spend £5 on some seeds, and then just, you know, you can spend a little bit more time growing your own food and eating and living a more healthy lifestyle instead of working so hard to pay for all these things. It's kind of, you know, the irony. People work super hard behind a desk in a screen, and then they go watch a Netflix film about being in nature or about building a house. Whereas when you're more surrounded by the ecology of nature, you don't have to go to the gym because you're building your own house. You know, you're getting that exercise, you're growing your own food. So I think, you know, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview with you today was, of course, to speak about our dear spiritual teacher, but also because I see the future, you know, with the pandemic. So many people are struggling and so many people are realizing I think we need to change the way we live.
Hmm.
And so I'm definitely feeling that. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Have you been feeling a little bit of that?
Definitely. One thing that was really nice from this pandemic
Mm,
is, for example, the rivers and the pollution, like the cities, because of all this closed down, it's meant the cities can breathe. Like Delhi used to be such should we say, hazardous place to even breathe. And Yamuna River used to be so polluted that everybody was worried, how can we save the Yamuna, which is a very spiritual river? And now that's crystal clear waters. Delhi's got, people can breathe. So
that's amazing.
I do feel that, and also it's made us think not to be so reliant on, should we think, things, don't take it for granted, having vegetables in the shop so we can buy them, or having the money to buy them. We need to be living in a way where we can sustain ourselves, or live simply. So what Srila Prabhupada said is really coming into fruition right now. Simple living, high thinking is how I think society would be good if we thought like that. If we just lived with a little less, then more people would be able to live. That's the way I see it. We consume so much. If we think about it, that's one thing. So if we just did that little bit of austerity and lived a bit more simply, think how many other people can eat. Think how many other people we can save in the world instead of them dying of starvation, them dying of hunger. And that's the reason we do fasting as well, isn't it, Balaram? This is Srila Prabhupada brought this in, that not just for our spiritual benefit, but to see the austerity of life and how people live. And if we can fast one day, bring us on that mindset to think of others. So I think it's made me, this pandemic has helped me to think of others more, be grateful for what I have instead of thinking about what I want, so living in the present. And what you talked about working, some people live to work, but we need to work to live. Some people live to work, we need to work to live. It's that simple. Don't make so much emphasis on the work. We should work to our best ability, but don't make that our life. There's more important things.
Yeah, one of the themes of the new series that I'm starting is called Being Present, which is kind of what you're talking about, work to live. So we forget to live sometimes,
Yes.
I know, speaking for myself, and we've just experienced with the pandemic how, just a little virus can shut everything down. Now, just imagine if that virus was on a technology level. Imagine if every computer shut down in the world. Flights, supermarkets, banks, you name it, everything. We've become so dependent on this technology. And all it takes is one little virus for everything to be gone. And so sort of developing a little bit more of this self-sufficiency and trying to be present in all aspects of life, we can find so much joy in just going out for a walk, going out for a cold swim. We don't need to find it so much in our phones, right?
Very
so,
true.
So I'm a work in progress.
We all are.
I'm still addicted to the phone, but slowly learning here out in nature.
No, you're doing I'm very inspired by what you're doing, Balaram. I have to say, it's really nice that. See, one thing I remember seeing your Instagram account, and you had all this different items on really nice gems. And then you just like wiped it off, and you're like, you know what? I'm making a new slate. I'm starting afresh. And I'll be like, my God, you just go. But it shows your detachment and that you're willing to try new things and to really push the boat. And, I wish you all the success in this, because I know you've got a lot of gems to share with the world. And I'm really looking forward to your podcasts. And just out of curiosity, so if you can just on your Balaram space, Balaram Perez space, you've got, we've got the audience on right now, and those that maybe listen to the recording afterwards. You mentioned something about why you're doing this. what's in store for us? What we got coming next on this lovely series that you're doing?
So just to address one of the points that you just mentioned, I did have, I think it was like 1,200 posts on Instagram and over 600 videos on YouTube. One of the things that I found as I was sort of growing a little bit more as a person, I found myself in a position where I was trying to be other people. And I was trying to imitate and copy, and also trying to be a people pleaser. If I do this, then maybe it will resonate with everyone. And I really felt unfulfilled in that process. And so there was a period where I was like, I don't even want to see social media. So I took a little time to disconnect. And in that time, I was going through different books that really helped me. They were almost therapeutic in a way. And so I think that this series that you're so kindly asking me to share about, I've put it under the category in the podcast. There's many different categories, and I was thinking, should it be comedy? Because I love having a good laugh. Is it educational? Is it spiritual? Is it health and fitness? There's so many categories, but the one I chose is the one on self-improvement, because that's sort of the path that Srila Prabhupada, our teacher, Jayapataka Swami, they put us on this path of self-realization, of getting to know ourselves. And when we improve ourselves, then everyone's happy around us. So the 4 areas that I wanted to focus on was one, our work, how we can be a bit more creative, how we can find that thing that we're passionate about. Like I just spoke about feeling unfulfilled. So how we can find a little bit more fulfillment in our work. The other thing I want to discuss in this series is it's become really popular in our spiritual community to serve, and neglect yourself, right?
Yeah.
We've seen that with our dear temple president at Bhaktivedanta Manor, His Grace Shruti Dharma. He worked so hard, and I'm not saying that this is wrong or that he should have done things in a different way. He was really, really dedicated, and he definitely sacrificed his health for the well-being of everyone. But we don't have to do that. We can take care of our mental well-being and our physical well-being. And one of the things I really love to do is climbing. So we don't have to go to the gym. We don't have to try and press people in different ways. We can choose something that really resonates with us. And for me, that's being out on the mountains and really connecting in that way. So there's a few fun series about that. And then finally, the thing that I really love is kirtan. And I created this thing called Kirtan Space about 4 years ago. So we'll be putting out a few tutorials and classes around how to improve the kirtan practice as well.
Amazing.
So those are sort of the topics of the podcast and
that is
video series.
Fantastic. And just checking, my Instagram's doing something funny, but I'm just checking, is yours okay? Can you still see me? Or is it gone?
I can see you and hear you. Yeah.
Excellent. So we'll just carry on.
Okay.
I'm just hoping it's but I'm glad I can see you on the other one anyway. I was just wondering, we've only got a few minutes left, but is there a chance of a small kirtan from yourself before we finish today? How would that be?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
So while Balaram's just getting quickly ready, please everyone check out his new podcast series, Balaram Perez Space. You can follow him on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. It's all the same, Balaram Perez. So BALARAMPEREZ. So please do check. And yes, please, Balaram, a very short kirtan would be lovely.
Is the Instagram working, right? We're all okay?
We seem to be, because I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Good. So we'll just sing a little Mahamantra melody. Just remind me how long I should go on for. Should it be 5 minutes?
We got about 2-3 minutes. Unfortunately, we talked so long. It was amazing.
So we'll just share a really favorite melody, and we can all chant together at the same time, I guess, because there's no possibility of doing a call and response here. So we can all chant together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Balaram. It's been such lovely talking to you today, and you sharing your thoughts and insights, which was very powerful. And we've had one person saying, please let us hear you both again on this topic of positive detachment and exploring nature's beauty for our well-being. I think we'll have to. Well, let's connect again on this, Balaram. It'll be lovely to. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. Just so you're aware, if you like what we are doing here, join me tomorrow. We have some mantra meditation happening, and then I'll be letting you know what the other programs are. But for now, thank you so much, Balaram. And
can I share a few words?
Yeah, sure, please.
You know, I wanted to share this in the beginning, but I think this is the opportune moment to share it. But you know, I've always been really impressed by your service attitude, Jagannath. Every time I've seen you, you've always been running around, especially when we're around our spiritual teacher, Jayapataka Swami, whose health isn't so good. You've always been running around, not sleeping, not eating, always making sure everyone's well taken care of, making sure everyone gets an equal opportunity to serve. So thank you so much for everything you've done in the past, and for this beautiful space as well, where so many different great and saintly devotees are sharing very inspiring things. So thank you for giving us all this opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Balaram, and speak to you soon. Okay, and thank you, everybody. So everyone take care, and until we meet again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.